question is, what is the most important value in our life? Killing or living?
Why can't we be independent?
Why?
can't we be
Yes. Why? Why? What is the missing things in my existence? This is my home, and I want peace. I want freedom in my home. I am state. I am flag. I am border. I am weapon. But I am human. I'm human. I want peace. They arrest me. They kill the people, but they are not arrested. But I said, I'm not going to kill anyone. I want peace, but they arrest me. Can you imagine that?
And our thoughts are the most powerful weapon we have for peace.
Yeah.
Not a shotgun, not a machine gun, our thoughts.
We are going to war and we are going to die. For whom?
Our duty towards our country is peace. Welcome to The Inner Wonder. I'm Alex and I'm your host. Hey thinkers, together with us, Halil. Halil is a poet and an activist. Halil is also a professor at the American University of Cyprus. He teaches politics. Halil is Cypriot, and so am I. Halil, though, speaks Turkish, so I speak Greek. This distinction makes us live some different realities. Halil also identifies as a conscientious objector. More on that later. Halil, I just briefly described one side of you.
Yes.
What's another side of you?
As you said, I'm poet, I'm father, I'm husband, and of course I'm Cypriot. And I'm conscientious objector as well. I'm political activist and peace activist. Yeah, I can define myself like this.
Help me understand, what is a conscientious objector?
Yes, conscientious objection has different perspectives. The one who doesn't want to be part of the military from different reasons, they reject to go military or they reject to do reservist service, and they declare their conscientious objection. And I think it is such as civil disobedience, which state impose you to do. So conscientious objection in general perspective, we can define like this.
Why would you not want to serve your country?
Of course, when I declared my conscious objection in 2000, I said I don't want to follow my grandfather's way as they did in 58, 1974, or during these years. But now, of course, you are reading different things, you improve your perspective. That's why my perspective on conscious objection is changed. So now what I said, I'm citizen of Republic of Cyprus and I'm Cypriot. So why I must think that Republic of Cyprus is my enemy state and the other Cypriot, Greek Cypriot, Armenian Cypriot, Maronite Cypriot, Latin Cypriot, why they are my enemies, of course. So this is one perspective. The other perspective that I try to highlight, we are living under the occupation. In the northern part of the Cyprus, what I define is Turkish settler colonialism, this structure. Therefore, they establish a state which called TRNC, Turkish Republic North Cyprus. For me, this is settler state. Turkish Cypriot hasn't got power or they are not subject in this occupied structure. Therefore, the state imposes you some duties. Militarism is part of these duties. So when you look at the military, which said that it is under the control of Turkish Cypriot, but for me it is not like this. Majority of the soldiers, they are settlers, and the military is controlled by the Turkey. The head of the officer come from Turkey, never it becomes Turkish Cypriot. Therefore, when you question the existence of militarism in the northern part of the Cyprus, you realize that there are two functions. One, they try to domesticate you. How? With militarism, because militarism imposes you rules, militarism imposes you patriarchy, militarism imposes you fear, militarism imposes you, how can I say, the patriarchal features, patriarchal things. The other function of the military, this army, is keep you trauma, because they impose you that Greek Cypriot and Republic of Cyprus is your enemy. And they said, if you are not in the military, if you are not part of the military, or if you don't need military, they will come and they will kill you. Therefore, they always keep your trauma, especially in 1963 is the trauma of Turkish Cypriot. Therefore, you always feel that you need Turkish protection. This is very important, because as long as you feel and you need protection of the Turkey, you never rebel to Turkey. What I said, of course, there are many features of consciousness objection. For example, patriarchy. As I said, I'm against the patriarchy. They force you to be man and insulting the woman. So there isn't equality in militarism. In the respect of the nature, in the respect of vegan activism, there are several functions of consciousness objection. So this is the general framework of my position.
Halil, what I hear from that is two sides. One side of your stance is against the situation that is happening in your own country. And essentially, you're saying, hey, I can also think for myself. And you take your stand to think and say, why would I fight the people of my own country? And the second thing is, I would say, a general concern and understanding of human rights and of human rights violations across different types of groups. I'm gonna read you on that something you wrote that I found very beautiful, and I would like to get your take on that. Listen, thinkers. If tomorrow there is a war, we as anti-militarists will not fight. Our grandfathers and fathers had fought in the past. We will not make the same mistake. Our duty towards our country is peace. In the 21st century, we don't see our friends in the South as enemies. We do not see anyone in the world as an enemy. There is one thing that strikes me in what you wrote. Our duty for our country is peace. This goes against a very conventional way of thinking that says your duty is to protect your country, which that implies that you have to fight for your country. And you come and say, hang on a minute. No, my duty towards my country is peace.
Yeah, definitely, because Cyprus is a very small island, but it is maybe one of the most militarized land on the earth. Therefore, we grow up with militarism. Militarism is part of our daily life. So we internalize this situation. But for example, if you see some military trucks or the cars in Europe, you suppose that something is happening, not normal. Militarism transformed into normal life of Cypriot. Therefore, the politician and of course, the big imperialist country use our traumas, use our fears. We always grow up with the fear of other, because they said one day they are going to come and they are going to kill you. Right. That's why they invent a lot of guns, weapons, military. So why we are not discussing peace?
Right.
Why we are not discussing peace? Because I was born in Mediterranean, so I'm center of the civilization, I'm center of the humanity. I am close to Middle East, I am close to Africa. But why I'm not going to talk about peace, and I'm always under the attack of virtuality. This is virtuality, and we need to discuss peace, the meaning of the peace, how we establish the peace, how we create the bridges, how we face our past, because they are using us. They said, okay, this is land that we got, and you must to protect. Why? I'm not living for land. Land must exist for human, for the birds, for the animals, for the other things. This is the important things. So the question is, what is the most important value in our life? Killing or living? We must to discuss this as you are doing a podcast and you try to emphasize the significance of the philosophy. Philosophy is important in this situation. That's why we must to discuss what is the meaning of the most important value in our land, in our Cyprus. Because we had very bad history. When you look at the Cyprus history, always colonized, always killing, always dying. This is not life. This is not life. We always colonized by some countries, and we transform into colonized subject. They always enslave us. They always put us the prison. Cyprus transform into open air prison. No, this is my home. This is my home, and I want peace. I want freedom in my home. Why I not deserve to live human like the other rest of the earth? Why? Why not? They impose me militarism. They impose me duties. What happened? End of the day, I'm not myself. I am state. I am flag. I am border. I am weapon. But I am human. I'm human. I need love. I need poetry. I need music. I need freedom. I need human rights. This is the point. Because if you don't have human rights, you are not human. You are not human. This is very important. They cut our human rights and they stop us not questioning our life that we live in Cyprus. We need rights. Rights make us human. Otherwise, we become creature of something that programmed to destroy the things. But this is not function of the human.
Halil, based on what you said, there's one thing that I want to just pick on. You talked about land. It's very common. I think nowadays we are experiencing two big wars, two big conflicts in the world right now. And primarily there is a cause of land in place, right? This is my land, this is our land. What you're saying is that land is not for humans. Land is for nature. Our job as humans is to live and to have human rights.
Yeah.
Based on that, I want to tell you, thinkers, right now, me and Halil were having this discussion in a no man's land. We're now in the land between the two borders of the Greek-speaking side and Turkish-speaking side. It's a zone controlled by the United Nations. As you can see, this is an abandoned building just behind us, and it's what we call the buffer zone. It's a place where, interestingly, I think there's an interesting irony here in this land. It's a no man's land, it's a buffer zone, but somehow it's the small piece of the land that brings the two communities more together.
Actually, buffer zone, I wrote a poetry about the buffer zone. What I said, buffer zone is like dream eater. Cypriot, they come here and they have meeting. Like today, we had a meeting. But 50 years ago, this year is the anniversary of the occupation. 50 years ago, we hadn't got a buffer zone. So what happened? Buffer zone is like metaphor of, how can I say, metaphor of dream eater, because it injects the sense of division to the Cypriot, because Our land used to be united, but now it is divided. So buffer zones represent division and impose us this sense of division. You know that there is a Republic of Cyprus and there is a occupied site on the northern part of the Cyprus. You change your behavior when you pass from south to the north, when you cross from the north to the south. So it means that you change your identity, you change your behavior, you change your feeling. So buffer zone impose us these feelings as well. Therefore, actually, we should not accept the existence of buffer zone. We grow up under this structure, so we internalize it.
Yeah.
Our grandfathers or the fathers, they used to live in United Cyprus. That's why it is much more painful for them. For us, part of our nature. So that's why we should criticize the buffer zone, because buffer zone means division of the mind and division of the heart as well. So why?
So fundamentally, although it can act as a place of unity, it's what creates a division.
Definitely. This is dangerous for us.
Yes.
That's why I said this is dream eater.
Dream eater. Yeah.
Dream eater, like monster. Because we come here, Greek Cypriot, Turkish Cypriot, they come here, they create a lot of project and they put their dreams on the table. But this is a demolition of their dream actually. Because our mind works differently. Different side. No, we don't have different sides. We have one Cyprus.
One Cyprus.
So this is our land as well. This is controlled by United Nations. Why? This is buffer zone belong to Cypriot as well. Why? That's why what I think now, right now, we must to stop and rethinking our struggle in Cyprus. Because after the 50 years, we understood that the struggle that we did before, it doesn't work because occupation still continue. And the occupation, this is not occupation anymore. This is colonization because Turkey brought a lot of settlers from Turkey. Turkey construct life in the north of Cyprus, law system. They brought their bureaucracy. They tried to brought their law system. They brought their people, they brought their culture, they brought their animals, trees, everything. This is not occupation because occupation is event, but colonization is constructing life in occupied land. That's why I said this is Turkish settler colonialism. So we must to discuss how we should construct a struggle against Turkish settler colonialism or the settler colonialism. Actually, we must to rethinking our position. That because it doesn't work, it's stuck.
I love what you're saying. So basically, this is something we never think about, but it's something more than an occupation. The occupation is the event, as you said. There is an event happening, troops coming in, there is an occupation, there is a war. But that somehow ends, and then when we go into what we call a settled situation, it's where the colonialization comes. And I'm thinking, with years and years, it's an effort to make us more apart, more different. I want to ask you, Halil, based on all your research, all your thinking, what would you say is the fundamental issue that brings all of these wars and all of these tensions? Why? We understand specifics to each place, of course, is different, but why? Why are we fighting each other?
Yes, this is, of course, there are several answers, but after the 19th century, we face with the fact of capitalism. So the capitalism, as long as capitalism has a desire to spread and expand, of course, always we are going to face the reality of the war. So that's why we must to show position as a resistance. We must to resist this expansion of this mentality, because capitalism always desire to exploit nature, human, lands, everything. Therefore, the ordinary people become tools of the capitalism or the bourgeois. We face this reality in Cyprus as well. Look at our nature. They destroy, they build apartments or flats or things. They destroy the nature as well. Now we are facing confliction between neoliberalism and the state capitalism in the world. Like one hand, European Union and the United States, the other hand, China and the Russia. They are preparing to big war. So Cyprus in the middle of these distinctions. What are we going to do? We are in the Middle East, we are in the Mediterranean, so there is a war in Palestine. There is a war in Ukraine, so what are we going to do? Of course, we must to discuss the concept of civil disobedience, because they force the people, the ordinary people, to fight each other. But for what? We are going to war and we are going to die. For whom? To protection of dominant class property. But why I need to kill my brother and sisters for somebody? Why? That's why we must to discuss civil disobedience, because we are in 21st century, and the 21st century shows us it is almost impossible to resist with the guns against these big states, because they use artificial intelligence. They use robots in the war industry. Therefore, it is almost impossible to fight as a human against robots or the artificial intelligence. Therefore, we must to improve the perspective of civil disobedience against these wars around of the world, and of course in our land as well, in our country as well, because the civilization also changed in the world, because the digital culture, now we are in digital culture, we are using Facebook, podcasts, Instagram. The ways of communication are changed when in comparison to 20th century. So 21st century is the breaking point of civilization as well. They are creating different human beings, such as cyborgs, half human, half robot. So the organs of human being start to become artificial. Our mind can be artificial. We can fall in love with robots. There are many examples for these situations. Therefore, we need to have deep discussion to human nature as well, because as I said, this is the turning point of humanity, and the philosophy, poetry, literature haven't got enough significance in human mind now, because the human being, they want to consume everything very fast. This is very dangerous. So what happened? We don't have deep discussion. We don't able to have deep argument. Therefore, we are not able to solve our problems. We are not able to understand our problems.
100%. And based on the civil disobedience that you're saying, it makes me think, oftentimes we're talking, for example, about the US versus Russia, or two big countries fighting each other, but in the end it's people.
Yeah.
It's the US, but what is the US without the US citizens? What is Russia without Russian citizens? So in the end of the day, the moment we start thinking, we understand that we have the power to decide our...
In Cyprus as well, we must to do it. Therefore, we must to open discussion. What is the meaning of the resistance? What is the meaning of human being? What is the meaning of to create disobedience bodies, as Michel Foucault mentioned? Michel Foucault says that system impose their values and they create the obedient bodies. So we must to discuss how we can create these obedient bodies in, for example, occupied side or Republic of Cyprus. This is important. Human, they internalize the ideological approaches of the system and they start to be alone, they start to feel alone, and we start to lose the understanding of public space. Public space, the meaning of the public space is important because public space, we come together, we share our feelings, we share our food. In Cyprus, in North, we never have a public space, according to me.
Right.
In the southern part of the Cyprus, what I observe, public space getting lost, getting disappeared by day by. Therefore, we must to discuss the significance of the public space as well, because people, they are alienated from their nature. We have similarities and dissimilarities in both sides, because one, for me, Turkish settler colonialism in the occupied side, in the Republic of Cyprus, there is a neo-colonialism. So we are full of the colonialism, and we had a classical colonialism in British times. Therefore, we must to connect politics with philosophy in order to explain our problems, and we try to analyze separately, because after the 50 years, it's very clear that we have different structures in Cyprus.
Being honest, Halil, I really want to move to the next section, but what you're saying is so interesting. So I want to stay a little bit more here. I want to talk a little bit more about this. So it's maybe more accepted that colonialism was something of the past, right? We said with Britain or with France or Spain in the past, but it's something that somehow ended in our minds, or maybe in what we thought colonialism is. But you're now bringing an idea, a concept of neo-colonialism.
Right. Yeah.
Firstly, I want to understand, how is that being imposed in the world, based on your opinion? Secondly, what can we as citizens actively do about this? Because I think what is something very difficult for the citizens is, I think we believe that we have no option but to accept. You talked about the citizens of the northern side, the occupied side, and you said they accept this colonialism, but maybe we can, based on what you're saying, help them understand and help me understand and help us understand that we have an option.
Definitely. After the Second World War, the British colonialism and the American colonialism, they passed the different period from classical colonialism to the neocolonialism, because after the Second World War, you realize that there are a lot of rebellions in colonized countries. They rebel with the gun, Egypt, Algeria, the many parts of the Africa. They rebel against the Euro colonialism. Of course, the EOKA, for example, EOKA resists English colonialism in Cyprus as well. The problem with the EOKA, they didn't want independence of Cyprus. They want enosis, which means to depend of motherland Greece. So this is a very interesting point. But so what British colonialism decided that we must to change structure of the colonialism, because we are not controlling the people directly. So they said, okay, let's leave them to independ their independence, and we are going to control them behind of the wall, behind of the curtain. But Cyprus is very interesting example on this period, because when you consider the rest of the countries that they declare their independence, still majority of them keep their united. They establish independent states 1960, but they divided Cyprus for 50 years. This is very unique example in the literature of neo-colonialism. So therefore, this is very interesting. So when you analyze neo-colonial states, you see the corruption, injustice, this stability in the countries. Why? Because they are not really independent and they are controlled by hegemonic powers. When you look at the Cyprus, for example, we have British bases. Why? If we are an independent country, we shouldn't have foreign military bases in our country. But why? Why? Still they impose you, you are the colonized subject. Sorry, but this is my land, I'm human, and I deserve to be independent country and independent human. Because if you are not independent, if you are not free, you become the creature, as I said before, and they do whatever they want. They impose you their rules, they impose you their culture, and they force you to be part of the world. So what can we do? Civil disobedience. Don't accept what they said to you. We must to open institute and we must to discuss all these things. We need philosophy, as I said. You know what they did? One of the African countries, when they get their independence, they said, we must to establish a big cultural center in Nairobi, in the center of the Nairobi, and make people to see this tower and make them to have confidence. Cypriot, we don't have confidence because free man, free human being have confidence and say, I want to be free. We don't know the meaning of the freedom because always we want to depend on motherland Turkey, motherland Greece. Why? Why we want to be depend on something?
Why can't we be independent?
Why?
can't we be
Yes,
free?
yes. Why? Why? What is the missing things in my existence?
That's very beautiful, Helen.
I'm equal to Greek. I'm equal to Turkish as a Cypriot. I'm not inferior or insulted creature. This is not crime. This is not punishment. What happened? It is like being Cypriot, like being a Sisyphus, you know. I don't know if you know the myth of the Sisyphus. Myth of the Sisyphus written by Albert Sisyphus always carry the weight onto the hill and the gods punish him. And when he come up, always did this weight fall down and he came back to carry again, to come back and carry again. So am I, as a Cypriot, am I Sisyphus? Always punished, always blamed by hegemonic power? No. No, I'm not Sisyphus.
And even worse, sometimes blaming each other.
Blaming each other.
The lack of confidence that you're saying and the lack of independence. And you touched upon one of my favorite words. It's talked about freedom. I'm going to read you something by Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks was a fighter for human rights, especially African-American human rights. She's the one that refused to give up her seat in a white passenger on a segregated bus when buses were segregated, and she refused to give up her seat for a white person. She said, I would like to be remembered as a person who wanted to be free so other people would also be free. For me, this quote just strikes me.
Yeah.
I want to be remembered as a free person so I can inspire others to be free.
Definitely.
Halil, you're the muse of this episode. And I want to say that this quote really reminds me of what you stand for. I want to ask you, firstly, what is freedom for you? What do you think is freedom?
Yes, this is really difficult question for me, but freedom means to take your decision. First of all, to take your decision, to have capacity and right to decide your future, your life, to have chance to love, to fall in love someone. Freedom means to say no to other. Freedom means not to be a slave, not to be controlled by others. Freedom means live in nature, not to destroy the nature. Freedom means to respect all different genders, all different people. It doesn't matter their race, it doesn't matter their religion. Freedom means to live free, to take breath without feeling pressure on your shoulder. Freedom means not to show your identity in your country while you are crossing borders. Freedom means no borders. Freedom means no buffer zone. However, our minds and our hearts, we are not free. The violence, for example, militarism, for example, they are the tools that make you distance to freedom. Maybe they don't arrest you, okay? But they are there, they influence you. Green, for example. Green is very nice as a color, but in Cyprus, it represents militarism. So freedom means to understand green that represent nature, not militarism. So it improves your perception, your consideration of the things as well. Free perception. Freedom means free perception, free mind, free soul.
Feels like military often is taught as a way to be free, but maybe it's the thing that constrains us from freedom, right? Because a lot of the times we think we need the military to protect ourselves from the other military, right? So it's a bit of an irony, right? Is what we need to be free maybe is what blocks us from being free. Halil, you said that freedom is when you're able to breathe without weight on your shoulders. That's very beautiful. And you also said that freedom is in the mind. Halil, I want to take you back to May of 2024, just very recently.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell us a little bit. You as a conscientious objector has refused to serve for the army, the Turkish Cypriot side. And your refusal to serve has led you to being fined.
Yeah.
And you refused to pay the fine, and instead you chose that because you refused to pay the fine, you had to go to jail. To many, going to jail is a restriction of freedom. To me, your decision to go to jail was an act of freedom. Can you elaborate? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Definitely. 2014, Murat Kanatlı and Haluk Selam Tufanlı, they're my friends, they're my brothers. They reject to go military and they jailed. So 2019, I jailed as well. And 2024, I jailed again. And Mustafa as well. Mustafa, another consciousness objector. 2024, he was jailed as well. We have more friends that they are rejecting to go military. First of all, Erman, Hassan, I need to mention their name as well,
Of course.
and they are very important people for us. Salih Askeroğlu, he was the first consciousness objector. And we have Alp, we have Nuri, Sılay. They are really important people for us. We are all reject to pay fine because we said fine meanings to accept what state impose us. Because they said, okay, you are not going to do, you are going to pay money.
Mm-hmm.
So if we accept to pay money, it means that we are going to act what we are against for. Therefore, we are rejecting. Yes, of course, it is not easy to stay in the prison, especially in the occupied side, because never the human rights activists have a chance to visit and observe the condition in the prisons. But under the every condition, we must to find way to resist, to rebel the situation, because what I said, I'm going to talk on occupied side. People, they are not happy. They are not happy. People, they lost their confidence. They lost their relations. So the colonialism demolish relations. Colonialism demolish their confidence. You take my lands, you take my people, you take my culture, you take my home, and you take everything from me. So what is left from me? What is left from me? I don't want to accept, because what is the meaning of the life? You are questioning what is the meaning of life and what is the meaning of my position in the life. As I said, this is important. So I said meaning comes from resistance. Meaning comes from peace. So they are controlling meaning, and they said, okay, forget, consume, always consume. The meaning equals to consumption, but consumption means consume yourself as well. End of the day, you find yourself that you are nothing. We need to rewrite, reconstruct our identity, our existence in the respect of philosophy as well. Okay, I'm part of the public, but I am individual as well. I need to show my position against occupied powers and the state as well. Otherwise, we are transformed into zombies. I feel that when I'm in the street, I feel that I cannot breathe. I cannot see things as they are. I feel that I'm disappearing in the public and I'm disappearing in my land,
Right.
in my country. This is very dangerous. I don't want to be invisible person in my own country. 100 years ago, Spartacus rebelled to authority. If you don't rebel authority, it is impossible to stay human. Authority change you. Authority make you slave. And if you are a slave, you cannot able to taste. You cannot able to feel the wind. You cannot able to hear the voice of the birds. Being human is very important. Internalize nature, to internalize your existence. You are not existence anymore. You become things like concrete, like wood, stone.
Yeah.
We are not. We are not. Therefore, there is only one solution: resistance, civil disobedience.
And I think it's important to be civil about it, right?
Definitely.
Because-
Civil rights,
Yeah.
civil rights, civil perspective, civil life. Don't obey. Don't obey.
In a civil
Wherever,
way.
yeah, and try to organize this disobedience in the public. This is important, because if I stay, this is, we are making podcasts. This is very important for me, because you show solidarity with me. This is important. So what happened? We become together.
Yeah.
We never know each other before.
Right.
And consciousness objection make us to come together and discuss our country, to discuss our freedom, our future. This is important. As long as you stay at your house, nothing change. Change is you. Change is you.
Wow. Very powerful, Halil. And our greatest weapon is here.
Yeah.
And we have the power. That's what I hear from you. We have the power to make our decisions, right? And we too, we're from the same country.
Yeah.
Yet all these situations make us feel like we're so foreign,
Yeah.
whereas we're not. And the solution, what I hear from you, the solution to this feeling of foreign is in the mind. And only when we think, then we can, as you say, taste, feel the air, and being able to breathe without weight on our shoulders. I really love that expression. I want to ask you, Halil, on a personal level, I see Halil as the poet. I see Halil as the activist. But Halil is also a person. And Halil also has emotions, vulnerabilities. Tell me, the moment that you get arrested, your first night in the prison cell, what is Halil feeling? What are your emotions?
Of course, it is very shameful because we are living in the 21st century and still they are arresting people because of their votes, because of they want peace. Can you imagine that? I want peace, they arrest me. They kill the people, but they are not arrested. But I said, I'm not going to kill anyone. I want peace, but they arrest me. Can you imagine that? We are living in the 21st century. It is incredible, incredible, because all my life I spent my life to the literature, politics, philosophy, and I found myself, instead of library, into prison. Can you imagine that? How can it's become logical? When they arrest me, the room was just for 14 people, but we were 43 people.
43 in a space of 14.
Yeah,
Wow.
in the space of 14, and there were only 2 Turkish Cypriot in the prison, and one of them is me. And this prison made by the Turkey, even the blanket come from the Turkey, and the guardian, majority of them, they are settlers. Majority of the prisoners, they are from Turkey. We are only 2 Turkish Cypriot. So end of the day, you find yourself in the very, how can I say, surreal places. Why? Some of them they kill, some of them they steal, some of them they discuss with the police. Why I am there? Because I want peace. This is unacceptable, because of course it is very shameful as well, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to stop, because this is the process. In the life, what I understand, I'm 38 years old, what I understand, the point is not arrive, the point that you planning. Road itself is target.
The journey.
Target journey, yes,
Yeah.
this is very important.
100%.
The target is not, of course, it is important for us, but the journey itself is important. This is the journey of the freedom.
The journey to freedom.
Journey
Journey
to
to
freedom, and what I said, this is the journey of the Cypriot, because Greek Cypriot, they are not able to make demonstration in occupied side. Armenian as well, Maronite as well, Latin as well. I'm not accepting what colonized country impose us. I'm not accepting. They are going to put us jail, okay, put me jail, no problem. No problem, because you are not able to control my mind. When I die, I believe that because we took inspiration from political activists in 1958, they are our inspiration, the Cypriot, that they don't want to be part of the TMT and they don't want to be part of the EOKA. They die, but still their thoughts, their existence inspire me. If they don't exist, I will not exist as well. And I'm sure that whenever one day I die, I'm going to inspire some people.
They can jail the body. They cannot jail the brain. And our thoughts are the most powerful weapon we have for peace.
Yeah.
Not a shotgun, not a machine gun, are false.
Yeah.
Halil, thank you so much for this. You already briefly touched upon my next question. As I said, Halil, you're the muse for this episode. You're the muse that inspires the wonders of this episode. You are, as an activist, and I'm saying again, you bring resistance for peace and for those good intentions. You're being jailed and you're made to physically maybe suffer somehow for that. And there is a lot of strength in you, and I can see a lot of strength for a greater good. And you mentioned, when I die, I want my thoughts and my actions to be an inspiration for someone else. So it feels to me that you're acting in a way for also the future generations. You already touched upon previous activists, right?
Yeah.
And I want to understand, what is your inspiration for you to keep doing what you're doing?
Actually, I grew up in small village in Mesaria, and it was very small village. Just 200 people used to live in
Wow.
this village. They are ordinary people. Actually, it is a conservative village as well. What I learned in my village, because there wasn't anything, sometimes even one car not pass near my house, nothing interrupt you. I learned imagination. There are empty fields, even there isn't tree there. So when you look at these empty fields, sometimes it becomes heaven because you imagine whatever you want. Sometimes it becomes hell because you lost in this emptiness. So when I play football with my friends, we hadn't got any lines. We hadn't got any borders. So we run behind of the balls. And that's why my childhood bases on dreams and imagination as a villager boy, because there isn't anything, there isn't opportunity. So I always learn to create games and to live in my dreams and in my mind. My inspiration is my village, because when I was a child, I was always dreaming and learned dreaming because because of nothingness. Because it is not rich village, it is not poor, but in the middle. You learn to play with the trees, you learn to play with the stones. Imagination makes you to walk, always.
Makes you to walk.
Yeah, to walk. Walking is important. Not running, walking. Because I had a long walking in my village when I was 10 years old, 12 years old,
Right.
always thinking. When you run, it is difficult to think, but when you walk in the emptiness, it always gives you inspiration to think. So my inspiration is my village, small village, which hasn't got any significance on the earth, but it is very important for me.
And it's important to you. And I think
Yes.
that is what is about your inner wonder, right?
Yeah.
Because it's something that it's important to you and gives
Yeah.
value and inspiration to you. This is amazing. And I'm going to say on what you said of you walking, but not running.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the fastest way to get to where you want to get is the one that appears the slowest one.
Yeah.
To walk and not to run. Because when you walk, you're able to observe.
Definitely.
And you're able to imagine.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hamid. This is very beautiful.
Thank you for it.
As we end this episode, we're going to use some part of imagination. So we're going to do our visualization for this episode. Thinkers, join us in this visualization. Halil, I would like to ask you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. And close your eyes, take a deep breath. Get comfortable. You're gently lifting off the ground. You're feeling lighter and lighter until you're flying. Your body is relaxed and you delve into a realm of pure tranquility. Around you, there's flowing water, singing birds, and greenery that you love. Two children playing together. They're having fun. You can hear their laughter. You can feel their innocence. Suddenly, two adults come by. Each adult takes one of the kids. You zoom in and you hear the conversation. The adult says to the kid, "Kid, this other kid is not your friend. He's different, can't you see? He speaks another language, not our national one. He believes in a God different to us, in a fake God. This kid is danger for our society, and the more we play with them, the more we harm our national identity. It's a betrayal to the family. Come with me, and I will find you another kid to play with." Soon, you realize each adult has said the same thing to the kid. The environment is now filled with chaos. Clouds appear. Conflict is everywhere. People are shouting to one another. Suddenly, you spot those kids again, but now they're not playing. They're punching each other. One of them is stabbing the other kid with a knife. Tears everywhere. Revenge is being shouted. Among years, the kid has grown up and it's now an adult. He walks by the same environment, still ruins. But after all these years, this adult has searched in his inner wonder to understand that we have more to share than to divide. Suddenly, he sees two kids again. They're not playing. They're separated by fences. It's time for this adult to shape a new generation, a more beautiful one with love, one with togetherness, one with peace. He approaches those kids again and takes a deep breath. Thank you, Halil. You can open your eyes.
Yeah.
I understand you might be filled with some emotions right now.
Thank you very
But
much.
what I want to
Nice
ask
story.
you, and take your time, but what I want to ask you is, if you're that adult that started off innocently, and then, based on all the information he got, the trauma, he started fighting his own friend, he killed his own friend. Now he grew up. He sees two kids that they're not friends anymore and approaches them. What would you say to those two kids?
Instead of forgetting their past, facing their past, and try to forgive each other, and try to understand how thousands of the year or the hundreds of the year they used to live together, and what happened suddenly. Question the turning point. Don't accept the reality that they impose. Create your own reality.
Create your own reality. Use thinking and imagination, because thinking can never be jailed.
Yes.
Halil, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Alex. Thanks a lot. Nice to meet you. And it is, as I said, this is really important for me because this is solidarity. You are creating platform for us to spread these thoughts. And this is very valuable for young generation.
I hope
well.
so. I hope. I really do.
Yeah.
Until our minds meet again, enjoy the inner wonder you're creating. Thanks, everybody. See you next episode.